All right, Super Bowl 60 is set. The Seattle Seahawks will take on the New England Patriots in Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60. What a game the NFC Championship was. Obviously, AFC Championship, not so much. Granted, there was obviously, snowy conditions and things like that. But man, the NFC Championship was number one. It was a game to bet on. I can tell you that much. But number two, just a fantastic game from start to finish. Obviously, you hate to see the Seahawks and the Rams battling it out to advance to the Super Bowl, especially knowing that the Super Bowl is in Santa Clara at Levi's. But ultimately, the Seahawks, that defense they have over there, man, is tough to get by. And I thought the Rams did a fantastic job scoring offensively. I thought they moved the ball well. Obviously they failed to convert a couple fourth downs, but I think overall, man, like the Rams played well enough, I think, offensively to win that game. But Sam Darnold was lights out, played flawlessly. That was probably his best game all year. I mean, I'm not a Seahawks fan. I don't watch all of their games, but Sam Darnold was surgical last night. I thought Matthew Stafford played flawlessly. But ultimately, the Seahawks get it done, and they will advance to Super Bowl 60. What sucks is, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was in the slightest form rooting for the Rams, only because, number one, I hate the Seahawks with a passion. That's by far my least favorite team in the NFL. Rams are probably number two right behind Seattle, but look, the Seahawks beat the Niners week 18 to lock the number one seed up. Then fast forward to the divisional round, they knocked the 49ers out. So, I really didn't want to see Seattle in the Super Bowl. Obviously, don't want to see the Rams either, but I would have probably rather, if I had to pick, I would have much rather saw the Rams in the Super Bowl than the Seahawks. So, Super Bowl is going to be a good matchup, though, man. I mean, what Mike Vrabel's been able to do with the Patriots, to get them where they were at. They had back-to-back 4-13 seasons before he took over this year, and they're in a freaking Super Bowl. I mean, that's sensational by Mike Vrabel. I mean, I think Coach of the Year is Kyle Shanahan, especially with what he had to battle through. But if it's not Kyle Shanahan, I don't know how you could give it to. I don't know how you couldn't give it to Mike Vrabel. He's been unreal in New England in his first year as a head coach. Think of how stupid the Tennessee Titans are. They fire Mike Vrabel just a couple seasons ago. And I'm not going to, I mean, at the time when they did fire him, I think everybody kind of knew it was pretty stupid of them to do. And then he goes to the New England Patriots and he's in a freaking Super Bowl. So obviously, congrats to Seattle. Congrats to the New England Patriots for getting to the big dance. Less than 2 weeks from today, we will have a new Super Bowl winner. I am a massive New England Patriots fan for the next 2 weeks. I really, really hope that they beat Seattle. I think they will, to be honest. I trust, I don't know. I like what New England's done this year. I think both teams are very good offensively. Both teams are very good defensively. That game's going to be a battle, man. Really, for me, I hope it's somewhat high scoring. One thing though that stood out to me in last night's NFC Championship was how freaking good the Seahawks and the Rams wide receiver room is. How good they are, how good both of those teams are at wide receiver. Seattle makes the trade during the season to get Rashid Shaheed. He has been phenomenal for them. I mean, obviously kick returning, and offensively as well. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's becoming one of the best receivers in all of football. He probably is one of the best receivers in football. I don't know how you couldn't say that. You look at the LA Rams, though, too, man. Like Puka Nacua, probably top 2, top 3 receiver in the league. Puka Nacua is one hell of a football player, man. If you're Matthew Stafford, why wouldn't you? I mean, Matthew Stafford goes to him every freaking play, and I get it. Like, I understand why. Puka Nacua is everything that you want in a wide receiver. And not only that, but they got Devontae Adams, too. I mean, yeah, Devontae Adams is towards the tail end of his career, but he's been sensational this year for them. That is one thing that is separating the Rams and the Seahawks from the 49ers. Obviously, aside from having healthy teams and, having a really complete teams all in all, defensively, offensively, special teams, the 49ers really aren't too far off. I mean, there's definitely some gaps that they need to fill, and they are definitely not as good as the Rams and not as good as the Seahawks, clearly. But they've also had injuries, of course, like, the 49ers. Talking about these injuries it's so exhausting. So obviously I'm not going to touch too much on it, but having as many as they did is hard to come by. But yeah, man, I mean, that is one thing that I thought of last night that's just really separating the Niners from both of these teams. They have complete wide receiver rooms. They've got a star, stud, all-pro type of receiver. Both teams do. And the 49ers need that. And I think they're going to be a lot more aggressive this offseason. There's been a couple reports going around. Grant Cohn mentioned a couple days ago that, the 49ers were going to be targeting a wide receiver this offseason for a trade. The name that is being brought up the most is Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings. That would be a huge get for the Niners. I mean, obviously, Jordan Addison, very good route runner, super quick off the line of scrimmage. And he's kind of been in Justin Jefferson's shadow since he's came into the league. And doesn't look like the Vikings are going to pick up his fifth-year option. They've got Jalen Naylor, who's a young and upcoming receiver. And there's a growing sense around the Vikings organization that they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option, and that the 49ers could potentially make a deal for him. So I'm not sure, what exactly. I'm not sure what exactly, the price tag would be for the 49ers to go get him. I do think that they need a wide receiver, right? Like, whether it's Jordan Addison or maybe another guy like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown could be another very good trade target for the Niners. One thing about Jordan Addison is he's got like 3 arrests in the last couple of years. Now, all the charges were dropped, so there's nothing to be kind of worried about there. But the only thing that could be concerning with getting a guy like Jordan Addison is his off-the-field issues. But at the end of the day, I think Jordan Addison, I think the 49ers being able to get a guy like Jordan Addison is going to tremendously help this team. They need to get better at wide receiver. That's a given fact. They cannot continue to roll with Ricky Pearsall, who gets injured almost every week. Kyle Shanahan mentioned at the end of the season press conference that there were only about 4 games where Ricky Pearsall played like himself this past year, and that just can't happen. Obviously a PCL injury can be tricky. That's what Pearsall had. But at the end of the day, the 49ers have to get better at receiver. I think they will. There's a couple guys out there like Jordan Addison, like A.J. Brown, that they could potentially go get. A.J. Brown's going to come at a much steeper cost, I think, than Jordan Addison will. But look, man, at the end of the day, watching last night's game between Seattle and the Rams, it's clear that they are light years ahead of the 49ers when it comes to the receiver room and weapons. And not only are the 49ers already thin at wide receiver, but they're not going to have George Kittle for a big chunk of next season. I don't really know what his timeline is for a return. The fact of the matter is the 49ers need pass catchers. They could potentially lose maybe 4 of their wide receivers that they currently have. Those guys being Kendrick Bourne, Sky Moore, Brandon Ayuk obviously is gone, and Jawan Jennings. Now, I think they will bring Sky Moore back. He was phenomenal as a punt and kick returner, or a kick returner. But Jawan Jennings, I mean, at the right cost, absolutely bring him back. I think Jawan Jennings is going to want a decent amount of money that I don't think the 49ers are going to be willing to pay him. Kendrick Bourne's a veteran guy. Don't see really him being back. The 49ers are going to lose wide receivers, and that's not good. You got to go get somebody that is worth a shit, number one. Not any disrespect to the current 49ers receivers, but go get somebody that's more often than not available. Doesn't get injured a lot. I know that speaks of, I know that's easier said than done. Seems like any player that comes to the 49ers simply always gets hurt. Maybe it's the electric substation. I don't know. How about we just move back to San Francisco and build a new stadium where Candlestick used to be? That would be my vote. Also, very much so easier said than done. Don't think that will happen, but it should. But yeah, man, the 49ers need to get better pass catchers this season. And when you don't have George Kittle, you're not going to have him for a big chunk of next season, I would imagine. That only makes things worse. Go get a guy like Jordan Addison. Go get a guy like A.J. Brown. They need a solidified wide receiver, and they don't have one. So that has to change, and that's something that I thought about last night just watching that NFC Championship, because it's clear, the Rams and the Seahawks by far have separated themselves from the 49ers when it comes to pass catchers, and that's a fact. And the 49ers need to get better. Kyle Shanahan's never really took the receiver room lightly, so I know that's on his agenda going into the offseason. He's never been one to kind of go cheap at wide receiver. The 49ers in 2019 traded for Emmanuel Sanders. Ultimately gave them a lift to get to the Super Bowl. They had the Deebo Samuels and Brandon Ayuk until Brandon Ayuk started being a bitch. The Niners have never went light at receiver under Kyle Shanahan, and I do not see them going into next season without a solidified guy. And I do think they'll be much more aggressive this offseason, not just with getting a wide receiver, but in general. I think they'll get back to their old ways. Their window's clearly still open. They were able to make it to the divisional round with the amount of injuries that we had, or that they had, and I think that the Niners are very, very close to. They're a couple moves away from being right back. Well, let me backtrack here. They're a couple moves away and staying healthy from being back in a Super Bowl, and I think that's clear. But they have to figure out what it's going to take to line up good with Seattle. They need to figure out what it's going to take to line up good with the Rams, because those teams aren't going anywhere. I don't see Stafford retiring. The Niners have work to do this offseason, and I think it starts without a doubt with getting a wide receiver. So wanted to touch on, again, that rumor of the Niners eyeing a trade for a receiver this offseason. I know Larry Krueger mentioned on his podcast that the 49ers could potentially look to trade Ricky Pearsall. I think there's a growing frustration, or maybe it was Grant Cohn that mentioned that. But long story short, basically said there was a growing sense that the Niners are kind of sick and tired of Pearsall's injuries. And, there's guys like Jawan Jennings that are playing through broken ribs, and meanwhile, Pearsall can't get by and play through injuries and things like that. I don't know the truth to that. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's just what they mentioned on the podcast. There was also some rumors about Renardo Green being potentially traded, and that he's not really a good fit, that the Niners could look to upgrade at corner as well. So interesting stuff that's going to be on the horizon this upcoming offseason. But again, one thing's for certain, they got to get a wide receiver, and I'm all in on Jordan Addison. I'm all in on A.J. Brown. There have been some rumblings about Jefferson. I don't see in a million years the Vikings trading for him whatsoever. So I don't think he will be on the board for a potential trade. But there's other guys out there that will be. And the fact of the matter is the Niners have to be aggressive, and they need to go out and get one. So let me know what you guys think, though, of this NFC Championship that happened last night. Obviously, Seahawks Pats for Super Bowl 60. Or Seahawks potentially hosting a Lombardi at Levi's. That would be sickening, especially knowing that they came to our house, beat us for the number 1 seed, and then obviously knocked us out of the playoffs. That would probably be the worst thing ever. But at the end of the day, yeah, we'll see what happens with the Super Bowl. I'll be on here, very soon, going over off-season things and whatnot. Probably going to be on here for maybe a Super Bowl preview. And obviously we'll update you guys as news drops, involving the 49ers. So stay tuned. Let me know your thoughts. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.